The boardroom went silent when Zara walked in. Trevor's face drained of color. He gripped the table edge, knuckles white. Beside him, Vivian's phone slipped from her hand, clattered against the polished wood. "Ms. Mitchell owns 34% of this company," the lead investor announced. "As of this morning, she's the largest individual shareholder." Trevor's mouth opened, closed. That's impossible." Zara settled into the chair at the head of the table, the same table where he'd built his empire while she made coffee in their kitchen, where he'd celebrated going public while she smiled and asked about his day. She met his eyes across 12 feet of mahogany. 2 weeks since he'd handed her divorce papers, 2 weeks since he'd chosen Vivian. "Nothing's impossible when you actually have money." "Trevor," she opened her portfolio. "Now, let's discuss your performance as CEO." 3 weeks earlier, Zara had been washing dishes when Trevor came home. She'd heard his car in the driveway, the particular way he closed the door when he was in a mood, not quite a slam, but harder than necessary. Her stomach had tightened. She'd rinsed the soap from her hands, dried them on the towel embroidered with chickens that he hated, but she'd bought anyway. He'd walked into their kitchen in a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She'd smiled. "Hey, there's leftover pasta if you're... We need to talk." The pasta dish had felt heavy in her hands. She'd set it down carefully. "Okay." He hadn't sat down. Had stood there in their kitchen, the kitchen she'd painted yellow because it reminded her of Texas sunrises. Back before everything got complicated, and told her he wanted a divorce. Not asked, told. "You're a good person, Zara." His voice had been gentle, patronizing. "You've been supportive through everything, but I need someone who understands this world now. Someone who can..." He'd gestured vaguely. "Keep up." Her throat had closed. She'd pressed her palms against the counter. "Keep up with what?" "The company went public. I'm meeting with investors, flying to New York, Dubai. I need a partner who can navigate that. He'd smiled, like he was letting her down easy. "You're too simple for this life. You wouldn't be happy anyway." Simple. The word had burned like acid. She'd wanted to laugh, wanted to tell him about the first time she'd flown to Dubai, at 14, in her family's private jet, to tour the oil refineries her grandfather had built. Wanted to tell him she spoke 4 languages, had negotiated with sheikhs before she could legally drink, had turned down a position on 3 different corporate boards because she'd been hiding. Instead, she'd said, "When did you decide this?" "Does it matter?" He'd pulled an envelope from his jacket. "My lawyer drew up papers. You'll be taken care of. The house, enough money to live comfortably. You can go back to Oregon, open that coffee shop you always talked about." She'd never talked about opening a coffee shop. She'd worked at one. There was a difference. "Is there someone else?" His pause had been answer enough. "Her name's Vivian. You'd like her, actually. She's..." "Don't." Zara's voice had come out steady, calm. Years of etiquette training from a childhood she'd rejected. "Don't tell me I'd like her." Trevor had set the envelope on the counter. "I'll stay at the Ritz tonight. Give you some space. Sign the papers, Zara. Let's not make this ugly." He'd left. She'd stood in the kitchen for 20 minutes, perfectly still. Then she'd picked up her phone and called a number she hadn't used in 5 years. "Mitchell residence." The voice had been crisp, professional. "It's Zara. I need to speak with my father." Silence. Then, "Miss Mitchell, I'm so sorry. Your father passed away last week. We've been trying to reach you." The floor had tilted. Now, 2 weeks later, she watched Trevor squirm in his $1,000 chair. "You can't just buy your way onto this board," he said. His voice cracked. "There are rules, procedures." All followed. Zara kept her voice pleasant. She'd learned pleasant from her mother. Oil money and Junior League smiled while destroying business rivals at charity luncheons. "I've been acquiring shares for 3 years. Small amounts, different accounts, all legal. My lawyers were very thorough." Vivian leaned forward. "This is insane. Trevor, do something." Zara looked at her for the first time. Vivian Drake, 2.4 million followers on social media, fashion influencer, professional pretty person. She was beautiful. Zara could admit that. Blonde hair that moved like something from a commercial. Outfit that probably cost $5,000. "Ms. Drake," Zara said, "you're not a shareholder. This is a closed meeting." "I'm Trevor's girlfriend?" Zara smiled. Congratulations. Still not a shareholder. Security will escort you out. Trevor stood up. You can't do this. This is my company. I built this. You built it with investor money, which makes them stakeholders. And right now, I'm the biggest stakeholder. Zara opened her laptop. Shall we discuss Q3 performance? Because the numbers are interesting. The lead investor, Richard Chen, 60 years old, sharp as a razor, cleared his throat. Mr. Westbrook, perhaps you should sit down. Trevor sat. Zara clicked through slides she'd prepared. Her father's team had helped, the analysts who'd been managing Mitchell Oil and Energy for 40 years. They'd been thorough. Revenue is up, she said. Stock price is up. But you've been making risky acquisitions. 3 companies in 2 years, all overvalued. You're leveraged to a point that makes investors nervous. Those acquisitions were strategic. Were they? She pulled up another slide. Because 2 of them are underperforming. You paid premium prices for companies that aren't delivering. Why? Trevor's jaw clenched. Market analysis supported those purchases. Whose analysis? Zara let the question hang. Because my team found some interesting connections. One of those companies, owned by Vivian's uncle. You paid 40% above market value. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. Richard Chen was writing notes. The other board members were very carefully not looking at Trevor. Trevor swallowed. That's a coincidence. Is it? Zara smiled, still pleasant, still calm. Inside, her heart was racing, but nobody could tell. Years of practice. We'll table that discussion. For now, I'm calling for a vote of no confidence in current leadership. You can't. I can, and I am. She looked around the table. All in favor? 3 hands went up immediately. Then 2 more. Then Richard Chen slowly raised his hand. Trevor looked like he'd been punched. Motion carries. Zara closed her laptop. We'll appoint an interim CEO while we conduct a full audit. You'll retain your shares, of course, but effective immediately, you're relieved of executive duties. Trevor stood up so fast his chair rolled backwards. You're doing this because I left you. This is revenge. No, Zara met his eyes. I'm doing this because you're bad at your job. The revenge is just a bonus. He stormed out. Vivian scrambled after him, heels clicking on marble. The remaining board members sat in stunned silence. Richard Chen spoke first. Ms. Mitchell, that was quite an entrance. I prefer to be direct. Zara gathered her things. My team will send over the audit proposal by end of day. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. She walked out of the building into Portland sunshine. Her car was waiting, a Mercedes she'd bought 2 days ago, paid in cash. The driver opened the door. Her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. You're trending on Twitter. #girlboss, #RevengeEra iconic. Someone had filmed her walking into the building, posted it. The comments were ruthless and supportive in equal measure. She blocked the number, slid her phone into her bag. The truth was simpler than viral moments and hashtags. Her father was dead. She'd inherited an empire she'd spent 10 years running from. And Trevor, the man who'd called her too simple, who'd left her for someone who matched his imagined lifestyle, had never known her at all. He'd loved a version of her he'd invented. The uncomplicated girl from Oregon who needed nothing, wanted nothing, was grateful for whatever he decided to give her. He'd never asked about her life before Portland, never wondered why she spoke Spanish and Arabic fluently, why she could read a balance sheet in her sleep, why she never seemed impressed by wealth, he'd assumed. And assumptions Zara had learned from her father were how empires fell. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Mitchell? A woman's voice. Professional. This is Rachel Vance from Forbes. We'd love to interview you about your family's business and your recent board acquisition. Are you available this week? Zara looked out the window. Portland was beautiful this time of year. She'd love this city, loved the anonymity, the freedom. But freedom, she was learning, came in different forms. Actually, she said, I'm flying to Houston tomorrow, but I'll have my assistant coordinate. Thank you for calling. She hung up, texted her lawyer. I need a new team, corporate acquisitions, media relations, full staff, yesterday. The response came immediately, already assembling. Welcome home, Ms. Mitchell. Welcome home. She closed her eyes, remembered her father's office, wood paneling, oil paintings, the view of Houston sprawling beneath them. Remembered being 16 and telling him she wanted out, wanted normal, wanted to choose her own life. He'd let her go, had respected her choice even though it had broken his heart. Now he was gone, and the empire was hers, whether she wanted it or not. Over the next 3 weeks, Zara's life transformed in ways that felt both foreign and familiar. She'd flown to Houston the day after the board meeting. Her father's house, she couldn't call it home yet, sat on 5 acres in River Oaks. White columns, circular driveway, gardens her mother had designed before the cancer took her when Zara was 12. The staff had lined up when she arrived, 15 people who'd worked for her family for decades. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper, had tears in her eyes. "Miss Zara, we're so glad you're back." Back. The word felt wrong. She'd left at 18 with 2 suitcases and her mother's jewelry. Had sworn she'd never return to this life. The expectations, the performance, the weight of a name that opened doors and closed others. Now she stood in her father's office, surrounded by decades of his work. "The primary accounts are here." David Okonkwo, her father's CFO, now hers, gestured to thick binders. But he was 53, had known her since she was in diapers. "Mitchell Oil and Energy, the investment portfolio, real estate holdings. Your father was very careful about succession planning. He knew he was sick. It wasn't a question. For 2 years, he hoped you'd come back before—" David's voice softened. "He understood why you left, but he never stopped hoping." Guilt twisted in her stomach. She pushed it down. "Walk me through everything." They worked for 6 hours. The empire was larger than she'd remembered. Her father had diversified. Tech startups, renewable energy, real estate from Dallas to Dubai. The oil fields were still the foundation, but he'd been preparing for a changing world. Smart. He'd always been smart. "There's one more thing." David pulled out a separate folder. "Your father made some specific investments in the last 5 years. He never explained why, but I think he was watching out for you." Zara opened the folder. Shares. Small percentages in dozens of companies, including Trevor's. Her throat tightened. He knew. He knew you were married. He knew your husband's company. He never said anything, but David met her eyes. Your father protected you, even when you didn't want protection. She'd called him 3 times in 10 years. Christmas, his birthday, brief conversations where she'd insisted she was fine. Everything was fine. She didn't need anything. He'd respected her boundaries and quietly bought insurance against the life she'd chosen. "Thank you, David." Her voice was steady, professional. Inside, she was breaking. "No, I'll need a full briefing on all holdings by Friday." "Of course." He stood, hesitated. "Your father was proud of you. He wanted you to know that, even when you were gone." After he left, Zara sat alone in her father's chair. The leather still smelled like his cologne, sandalwood, and cedar. She pressed her palms against the desk he'd built his empire from. Then she cried. For the first time since getting the news, quietly, the way she'd learned as a child, no sounds, no dramatics, just tears that burned and disappeared. When she was done, she made a call. "This is Mitchell Oil and Energy. How may I direct your call?" "This is Zara Mitchell. Connect me to our media contracts division." 3 minutes later, she was talking to Jennifer Park, who managed influencer partnerships for their lifestyle brands. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm so sorry about your father." "Thank you. I need information on Vivian Drake. She has partnerships with our subsidiary companies?" "Yes, 3 contracts, fashion, skincare, lifestyle content. She's very popular with the 25 to 35 demographic." "Cancel all 3. Silence. Then, can I ask why?" "Conflict of interest. She'll receive 30 days' notice as contractually required, but no renewals. And Jennifer, quietly let other brands in our portfolio know she's not a good fit for Mitchell companies." "Understood." Zara hung up, opened her laptop. Vivian's Instagram was still public. Photos from last night. Dinner at a 5-star restaurant, designer dress, caption, "Living my best life with my favorite person," with a heart emoji. Trevor was tagged. His profile had changed recently. No wedding ring in his new photos. His bio now mentioned CEO, investor, entrepreneur. No mention of being relieved of duties yet. She closed the laptop. Revenge was supposed to feel better than this. The funeral was the following week. Zara had expected a small service. Her father had been private. Instead, the church was packed. Oil executives, politicians, business leaders from 3 continents, people whose names she'd grown up hearing, whose companies had shaped economies. They all wanted to talk to her. Your father was a giant in the industry. If you need anything at all, we should have lunch, discuss opportunities. She smiled, shook hands, played the role she'd been trained for and had rejected. The perfect daughter, the gracious heiress, the Mitchell heir who'd finally come home. Trevor showed up. She saw him in the back of the church, halfway through the service, wearing a black suit, trying to blend in, failing. After the burial, he approached her at the reception. Zara, I'm sorry for your loss." She was surrounded by her father's colleagues. They went quiet, watching. "Thank you for coming." Her voice was ice wrapped in velvet. That was thoughtful. "Can we talk? Privately?" "I don't think that's appropriate." He lowered his voice. "Please, 5 minutes." David appeared at her elbow, protective. "Ms. Mitchell has a very full schedule." "It's fine." She handed her champagne glass to David. 5 minutes. They walked to the garden, away from the crowd. Roses everywhere, her mother's favorites. Her father had maintained them for 20 years. Trevor's jaw was tight. "You've destroyed me." "I've done nothing." She examined a white rose, perfect petals. "You destroyed yourself with poor business decisions. The board voted me out because of you. You manipulated them. I presented facts. They voted according to their fiduciary responsibility." She turned to face him. "Is there a point to this conversation?" "Vivian left me." Something flickered in her chest. Not satisfaction, something sadder. "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. You planned this. Her contracts, the board, all of it. You wanted to ruin my life." "Trevor." She was tired suddenly, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with the funeral. "I didn't ruin your life. You did. You made bad choices. You left your wife for a woman you barely knew. You paid 40% above market value for a company because her uncle asked nicely. You got sloppy. I loved you." "No." The word came out harder than she intended. "You loved who you thought I was. You never asked about my life before Portland. Never wondered why I didn't need your money, why I never asked for anything. You created this idea of me, simple, uncomplicated, grateful, and you fell in love with that." His face flushed. "That's not fair." "You want to know what's not fair?" Her voice stayed level, calm. "I buried my father today, the man who built everything I'm standing on, and you came here to tell me I destroyed you because you're facing consequences for the first time in your life. I made mistakes. You called me too simple." She stepped closer. "You said I couldn't keep up with your world. You had no idea what my world was. You never asked. Then tell me now." She laughed. It sounded broken even to her own ears. "It doesn't matter now. We're done. Sign the divorce papers your lawyer sent over. Take your settlement. Move on." "What if I don't want to move on?" "Then that's your problem, not mine." She started walking back toward the house. "Goodbye, Trevor." "Zara." She didn't turn around. Inside, the reception was winding down. Important men in expensive suits discussing oil futures and market trends. Women in black dresses and pearls offering condolences that felt rehearsed. Her father's lawyer found her by the window. "Ms. Mitchell, when you have a moment, there's something your father left for you. A letter. He asked that you read it privately." "Thank you. I'll stop by your office tomorrow." She made it through another hour, smiled, accepted condolences, discussed transition plans with the board, promised to attend meetings, maintain her father's legacy, honor his work. When everyone finally left, she stood alone in the house she'd grown up in. Mrs. Chen appeared with tea. "You should rest, Miss Zara." "I'm not tired." "You're exhausted. There's a difference." She set the tea on the table, hesitated. "Your father talked about you every day. He understood why you left. He was proud you had the courage to choose differently. I ran away. You chose yourself. That takes courage, too." Mrs. Chen squeezed her shoulder. "He never blamed you, not once." After she left, Zara walked through the house. Her childhood bedroom was exactly as she'd left it. Posters on the wall, books on the shelves, trophies from writing competitions, a whole life she'd abandoned. She'd thought leaving made her free, independent, real. But standing here, she wondered if she'd just been hiding. Her phone buzzed. Text from a number saved as Richard Chen, board. The interim CEO is working well. We'd like to discuss permanent leadership structure. Are you available next week? She stared at the message. They wanted her input, or maybe they wanted more than input. Another text. David Okonkwo. Forbes published the interview. You should see it. She pulled up the article on her phone. The Reluctant Heiress. How Zara Mitchell walked away from billions and why she came back. The photo showed her walking into the board meeting. Confident, powerful, nothing like the woman who'd stood in her kitchen 3 weeks ago, holding divorce papers. The article was fair. Talked about her father's legacy, her decade away, her sudden return. Mentioned Trevor only briefly. Her recent divorce from tech CEO Trevor Westbrook coincided with her father's death and her return to the family business. The comment section was brutal and supportive in equal measure. She closed her phone, drank her tea, let the silence settle. Tomorrow she'd read her father's letter. Tomorrow she'd start making decisions about a company that employed thousands, influenced markets, shaped futures. Tomorrow she'd figure out who Zara Mitchell was supposed to be now. Tonight, she just sat in her father's house and let herself miss him. The letter sat on her father's desk for 2 days before Zara opened it. She'd been busy, board meetings, strategy sessions, learning the intricacies of an empire she'd rejected a decade ago. David had been patient, walking her through contracts and partnerships and investment strategies that spanned continents. But every time she walked past her father's office, she saw the cream-colored envelope with her name written in his careful handwriting. Finally, on a Thursday night, she poured herself bourbon, his favorite, and opened it. My dearest Zara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye in person. I'm sorrier that we spent so many years apart because I was too proud to admit you were right to leave. You wanted freedom, a life you chose. I respected that, even when it hurt to watch you go. You were always the bravest of us, braver than me, braver than your mother. You walked away from everything because you wanted to know who you were without the Mitchell name. I hope you found what you were looking for. But Zara, sometimes running from something and running toward something look the same from the outside. Only you know which one you were doing. The business is yours now. Not because I'm forcing it on you, but because you're the only person I trust with it. You're smart, principled, and you understand that money is only meaningful if it's used well. You'll do better than I did. You'll make it mean something. But if you don't want it, that's okay too. Sell it. Walk away again. Live your life however you choose. You don't owe me anything. You never did. I loved you from the moment you were born until the moment I stopped breathing. That never changed, even when we were apart. Be happy, sweetheart. Whatever that looks like. Love, Dad. Zara read it 3 times. Then she folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope, and cried until her eyes burned. When she was done, she called David. I'm in. Her voice was rough. I'm staying. I'll be CEO. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She heard him smile over the phone. Your father would be proud. David, I need you to set up a meeting, all department heads, tomorrow. I want to know everything about our renewable energy division. Renewable energy? That's not our primary. It will be. Oil isn't forever. My father knew that. He started diversifying. I'm going to finish what he started. She stood up, walked to the window. Houston glittered below her. We're going to build something that lasts beyond oil fields and quarterly profits, something that matters. Silence. Then, I'll set up the meeting. After she hung up, Zara opened her laptop, started making notes. Ideas that had been forming since she'd started reviewing her father's holdings. Ways to shift the company's focus without abandoning its foundation. Investments in solar, wind, battery technology, partnerships with innovators who saw the future clearly. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Vivian. We need to talk. Zara stared at the message, deleted it, blocked the number. 10 minutes later, her phone rang. Vivian, from a different number. She answered. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Vivian's voice was tight, angry. You destroyed my career. I lost 3 major contracts because of you. You lost contracts because the company that hired you was acquired by Mitchell Energy. We decided to go in a different direction. That's bullshit, and you know it. You're punishing me because Trevor left you for me. Zara felt something cold settle in her chest. Trevor didn't leave me for you. He left me because he's an insecure man who needed validation from someone who made him feel important. You were convenient. You're bitter. I'm honest. And Vivian? I didn't think about you at all when I canceled those contracts. You were a line item in a spreadsheet. That's how little you matter. She hung up, blocked the new number. Her hands were shaking. She set the phone down, breathed. The truth was messier than she'd made it sound. Part of her had enjoyed canceling Vivian's contracts, had enjoyed knowing that Trevor's new life was crumbling, had enjoyed the power. But another part of her, the part that sounded like her father, knew that revenge was empty. That the only thing that mattered was building something real. The renewable energy meeting happened the next morning. 12 department heads sat around the conference table. They were older, mostly men, veterans of an industry built on extraction and profit margins. They looked skeptical. Zara stood at the head of the table, pulled up her presentation. Mitchell Energy was built on oil. My grandfather drilled the first well in 1947. My father expanded the operation across 4 continents. We've been successful because we adapted to markets, took calculated risks, and stayed ahead of industry trends. She clicked to the next slide. Graphs showing oil consumption projections, climate policy shifts, renewable energy growth. The market is changing, not in 10 years, now. Countries are setting net zero targets. Investors are divesting from fossil fuels. Our children's children won't need oil the way we do. She looked around the table. We can resist that change and become obsolete, or we can lead it. Ms. Mitchell. George Parker, head of operations, 62 years old, looked uncomfortable. With respect, renewable energy is a risk. Our shareholders expect returns. Oil delivers. For now. What about in 20 years, 30? She pulled up another slide. My father started investing in renewables 5 years ago, small percentages, testing the market. I'm proposing we scale up, invest 20% of our liquid assets into solar, wind, and battery technology over the next 3 years. The room erupted. That's reckless. The board will never approve. Your father would never have. My father is dead. Her voice cut through the noise. Buyer, I'm not. And I control this company. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what we're doing. George stood up. Then you're doing it without me. I didn't spend 40 years in this industry to watch it get destroyed by some idealistic kid who doesn't understand how the world works. I understand exactly how the world works, George. That's why I'm making this change. She met his eyes. You're welcome to resign if you disagree. I'll have HR process your severance. He walked out. 2 others followed. The remaining 9 sat in stunned silence. David cleared his throat. Ms. Mitchell, perhaps we could discuss a more gradual transition. We don't have time for gradual. The industry is changing faster than anyone wants to admit. She sat down, softened her voice. Look, I'm not destroying my father's legacy. I'm protecting it. This company survives by adapting. That's what we're going to do. Slowly, heads started nodding. Jennifer Park, the youngest person in the room at 38, spoke up. What do you need from us? Research, partnerships, investment strategies. I want proposals on my desk by end of week. Zara looked around the table. We're going to build the future. Anyone who doesn't want to be part of that can leave now. Nobody moved. Good, let's get to work. That afternoon, Zara had lunch with Richard Chen, the board member who'd voted her onto Trevor's board. They met at a restaurant downtown. Quiet, expensive. The kind of place where deals were made over wine and perfectly cooked steaks. You're making waves, Richard said after they'd ordered. George Parker has been calling board members, says you're reckless. Am I? I don't think so. I think you're brave, he sipped his water. Your father talked about you, you know, before he died. He said you had vision he never had, that you saw things clearly because you'd walked away and come back. He said that? He was proud. Even when you were gone, he was proud. Richard set down his glass. But Zara, you need to understand something. You're young. You're a woman. You're making radical changes to a conservative industry. People are going to resist. They're going to test you. They're going to wait for you to fail. Let them wait, he smiled. That's the right attitude. But you'll need allies, people who believe in what you're building. Are you offering to be an ally? I'm offering to be honest with you, which is worth more. He leaned forward. Trevor's company is struggling. The audit found irregularities beyond the overvalued acquisition. The board is considering selling. Her stomach tightened. To who? Whoever makes the best offer. You're a major shareholder. You'd have input on the sale. I don't want input. I want out. Sell my shares. Are you sure? You could maintain control. Force changes. I'm done with Trevor's company. Whatever happens to it isn't my concern anymore. She met his eyes. I have my own company to run. Richard nodded slowly. Fair enough. I'll have my team start looking for buyers for your shares. They ate lunch, discussed industry trends, political changes, investment opportunities. Richard was smart, strategic, the kind of person her father had trusted. When the check came, Zara reached for it. I've got this, Richard said. No, I do. She handed her card to the waiter. I'm not the girl who needs taken care of anymore. I can see that, he smiled. Your father chose well. You're going to be formidable. After lunch, Zara walked back to her office. Houston was hot, the kind of heat that made everything shimmer. She'd forgotten what Texas summers felt like. Thick air, relentless sun, humidity that clung to your skin. She'd forgotten a lot of things about home. Her phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. I heard you're selling your shares in my company. Can we talk before you do? She stopped walking. Read the message 3 times. Then she typed, No, my lawyer will handle everything. Don't contact me again. She blocked his number, all of them, every way he had to reach her. Then she called her lawyer. I want the divorce finalized, whatever it takes. I don't care about the settlement terms. Just end it. Are you sure? You're entitled to... I don't want anything from him, just my freedom. She started walking again, faster. How quickly can we close this? If he cooperates, 30 days. Make it happen. She hung up, kept walking. Past buildings her father had helped develop, past restaurants where she'd had birthday dinners as a child, past the life she'd run from and the life she was building now. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Ms. Mitchell, this is Amanda Cross from the Wall Street Journal. I'm writing a piece about women CEOs in traditionally male industries. Would you be interested in... Send the questions to my assistant. I'll respond by email. Actually, I was hoping for an in-person interview. Maybe tour your facilities. Zara stopped walking. Thought about George Parker. About Trevor. About every man who'd underestimated her because she was young, female, because she'd worked in a coffee shop. Fine. Schedule it for next week, but I want approval on quotes before publication. Of course. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. After she hung up, Zara looked up at the Mitchell Energy Building. 40 stories of glass and steel, her father's legacy, her responsibility now. She'd spent 10 years running from this. Now she was running toward it, and she was just getting started. The Wall Street Journal article published 3 weeks later. Zara was in a meeting when David texted her the link. She pulled it up on her phone while her renewable energy team presented solar farm proposals. One oil heiress, Zara Mitchell, takes the reins. We're not running from change, we're leading it. The photo showed her standing in front of oil derricks at sunset, arms crossed, confident. The caption read, Mitchell, 32, inherited a $4.2 billion energy empire and immediately pivoted toward renewable investments. She skimmed the article. It was fair. Discussed her decade away, her father's death, her aggressive restructuring plans. Mentioned Trevor only briefly. Mitchell recently finalized her divorce from tech entrepreneur Trevor Westbrook, whose company faces ongoing financial difficulties following a controversial board shakeup. The comment section was predictable. Half praised her vision, half called her naive, reckless, a spoiled heiress playing with daddy's money. She closed her phone, refocused on the presentation. The Texas site has the best solar potential, Marcus Kim was saying. He was 35, MIT educated, had been running a renewable startup before Zara recruited him. We're looking at a 200-megawatt facility, ROI in 7 years. What about wind? Zara asked. The Oklahoma site is perfect for wind. We could break ground in 6 months if we move fast. Do it. Both sites. I want construction started before end of quarter. Her CFO, David, looked uncomfortable. Zara, that's a significant capital investment. The board will approve it because I control the majority vote. She softened her tone. David, I know this feels risky, but we're not abandoning oil. We're diversifying. My father taught me that. Never put all your resources in one place. He nodded slowly. Your father would say the same thing, just, slower. We don't have time for slower. After the meeting, she returned to her office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Houston, photos of her father with presidents, oil ministers, industry giants. His legacy surrounded her. Her assistant knocked. Ms. Mitchell? There's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Who? Trevor Westbrook. Her stomach dropped. Tell him I'm not available. I already did. He said he'll wait. Zara closed her eyes, breathed. Fine. Give me 5 minutes, then send him in. She used the time to center herself, sat behind her father's desk, her desk now, pulled up quarterly reports, looked busy, in control. When Trevor walked in, she didn't stand up. He looked terrible, thinner than she remembered, tired. His suit was expensive but rumpled like he'd slept in it. Dark circles under his eyes. Zara. Mr. Westbrook, what can I do for you? The formality made him flinch. Can we not do this? The cold professional thing? We're not married anymore. We're not friends. Professional is all that's left. She gestured to the chair across from her. You have 5 minutes. He sat down, ran his hands through his hair. My company is being sold. Did you know that? I heard rumors. You're selling your shares to the buyer. That gives them majority control. They're going to gut the company, fire half the staff. Everything I built, everything you mismanaged. She kept her voice level. Trevor, you made bad decisions. You paid premium prices for worthless acquisitions. You let personal relationships cloud your judgment. The company's problems aren't my fault. I know that. His voice cracked. I know I messed up, but Zara, please. You could stop this. You have influence. If you told the board, why would I do that? Because you're not cruel. I know you. You're good. You wouldn't destroy people's livelihoods just to punish me. She stared at him. This man she'd loved. She'd made him coffee every morning, had listened to him talk about his dreams, had believed in him when his company was just an idea and a prototype. You don't know me, Trevor. You never did. She leaned forward. But you're right about one thing. I'm not cruel, so I'm going to tell you the truth. He waited. I'm selling my shares because I don't want anything connected to you. Not revenge, not punishment. I just want you completely out of my life. She pulled up documents on her computer. The buyer is offering fair market value. Your employees will get severance packages. Some will be rehired under new management. It's not personal. It's business. Everything with you is personal now. No, nothing with you is personal anymore. That's the difference. She closed her laptop. Your 5 minutes are up. Zara, please, I have a meeting. She pressed the intercom button. Sarah, Mr. Westbrook is leaving. Please show him out. Trevor stood up, hesitated. I'm sorry. For everything. I was an idiot. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was insecure and stupid and... Stop. Her voice was sharp. Don't apologize to make yourself feel better. Don't tell me I was the best thing in your life when you traded me for someone who looked good in photos. You made your choices. Live with them. Do you hate me? The question caught her off guard. She considered it. Really thought about it. No, she said finally. I don't hate you. I just don't think about you at all. It was the truth, and somehow that was crueler than any revenge she could have planned. He left without another word. After the door closed, Zara sat very still. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the desk. Her intercom buzzed. Ms. Mitchell, your 2 o'clock is here. The meeting about the Dubai expansion? Give me 2 minutes. She walked to the window, looked out at Houston, her city now, her responsibility. Trevor had been right about one thing. She wasn't cruel, but she was done being the girl who made herself smaller so men could feel bigger. She'd spent 10 years trying to be uncomplicated, simple, easy to love. Turned out Complicated was more honest. The Dubai trip happened 2 weeks later. Zara flew commercial, first class, but still commercial. Her father had always said private jets were for people who'd forgotten what money was supposed to be for. She'd kept that philosophy. The meetings were brutal. 12 hours of negotiations with oil ministers and investment firms. Her Arabic was rusty but functional. She'd studied it as a teenager, back when her father had been grooming her to take over. Funny how the things you run from follow you home. On the third day, she met with Sultan al-Rashid, who controlled significant oil contracts in the region. He was 60, traditional, skeptical of young American women who thought they could do business in his world. They met in his office, ornate, gold fixtures, views of the Persian Gulf. "Ms. Mitchell," he didn't stand. "Your father was a good man, a tough negotiator, but fair." "Thank you. But you are not your father. You're young, inexperienced, and you're making drastic changes to a company that has been stable for 70 years. He leaned back. "Why should I trust you with contracts worth billions?" Zara had expected this, had prepared for it. "Because I'm not trying to be my father. I'm trying to be better." She pulled out her tablet, showed him projections. "The energy market is shifting. You know this. Your country knows this. Saudi Arabia, UAE, they're all investing in renewable energy because they understand oil won't last forever. So you come to an oil-producing nation and tell us oil is dying? No, I come here and say, let's build the future together. Mitchell Energy is investing in solar technology, battery storage. We want partnerships with countries that understand transition to not resistance." She met his eyes. "You can do business with companies that pretend nothing is changing, or you can do business with someone who's planning for what comes next." He studied her, silent, testing. "Your father would never have said that." "My father was brilliant, but he was also a man of his generation. I'm not." She smiled. "I'm the person who walked away from billions because I wanted to know who I was. I came back because I know exactly what I want to build. That makes me dangerous. It also makes me someone you can trust." He laughed, actually laughed. "You're very direct. I learned it from doing business with men who respect honesty more than flattery." "All right, Ms. Mitchell. I'll consider your proposal, but I want to see results, not just promises." "You'll have them." They shook hands. The meeting ended. Outside, not her assistant, Sarah Chen, 28, Harvard MBA, was waiting with their car. "How did it go?" "Better than expected." Zara slid into the back seat. Her phone buzzed. Text from David. "Trevor's company sold. Finalized this morning. Your shares cleared. $47 million deposited to your account." She stared at the number. $47 million. From 3 years of quietly buying shares while she'd been married to a man who'd thought she was too simple for his world. She typed back, "Donated. Split between renewable energy research programs and scholarships for women in STEM." "All of it?" "All of it. I don't want his money." She put her phone away, looked out at Dubai, gleaming towers and ancient traditions existing side by side. A city built on oil money that was desperately trying to diversify before the world moved on, just like her. Sarah spoke quietly. "Ms. Mitchell, there's something you should know. Vivian Drake posted about you on social media." "I don't care about—" "It's bad. She's claiming you targeted her because you're jealous, that you used your family's power to destroy her career." Sarah handed over her phone. "It's trending." Zara read the post. 3 paragraphs of victimhood and accusations, photos of Vivian looking sad and vulnerable, comments ranging from supportive to vicious. She handed the phone back. "Issue a statement through our PR team. 1 sentence. Ms. Mitchell does not comment on social media posts or personal matters. That's it." "You're not going to defend yourself?" "Defending myself means engaging. Engaging means this continues." Zara looked at Sarah. "I learned something these past few months. Some people will hate you no matter what you do. You can't control that. You can only control what you build." Sarah nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you're handling this incredibly well." "I'm handling it the only way I know how. Moving forward." That night, alone in her hotel room, Zara opened her laptop, scrolled through social media, saw herself through strangers' eyes. Ruthless businesswoman, bitter ex-wife, spoiled heiress, inspiring leader, feminist icon, cold-hearted destroyer. None of them were completely true. None of them were completely false. She closed the laptop, called Mrs. Chen back in Houston. "Miss Zara, it's late there. I need to ask you something. Was my father happy in the end?" Silence. Then, "He was proud. He was at peace. He knew you'd come back when you were ready." "I'm not sure I'm ready." "Nobody ever is, sweetheart. But you're doing it anyway. That's what matters." After they hung up, Zara stood at her window, looked out at Dubai's skyline, thought about Trevor, about Vivian, about every person who'd underestimated her. They'd all wanted her to be smaller, simpler, easier to understand. She was done being easy. The Wall Street crash started on a Tuesday. Zara was in Houston when the markets opened and immediately started bleeding. Oil prices plummeted. Oversupply, geopolitical tensions, fears of recession, energy stocks tanked across the board. Mitchell Energy lost 12% of its value in the first hour. David burst into her office at 9:30. "We need to talk. Now." She was already on her third coffee, watching 3 screens simultaneously. "Oh, I'm watching." "The board is panicking. George Parker is calling this a vindication. Says your renewable investments weakened our position." He set down a tablet showing frantic messages. "They want an emergency meeting. They want answers." "Schedule it for this afternoon. I'll have answers." She pulled up projections. "How are our renewable holdings performing?" "Stable. Solar contracts are fixed rate. Wind farms are producing. The battery technology startup we invested in is actually up 3%. Apparently investors see it as a hedge against oil volatility." Exactly. She felt something settle in her chest. Not quite calm, but close. "This is why we diversified. Oil is volatile. It always has been. We just forgot because we had 15 years of stability. The board doesn't see it that way. They see red numbers and panic." "Then I'll help them see clearly." The emergency board meeting happened at 2. 12 people on video conference, all talking at once. Angry voices, accusations, fear dressed up as concern. Zara let them talk for 5 minutes. Then she unmuted herself. "Are we done?" Silence. "Good. Here's the situation. Oil prices dropped because of factors completely outside our control. This happens. It's happened before. It'll happen again." She shared her screen. "Our oil holdings lost value today." "True. But our overall portfolio is down only 8% because we have renewable investments that remained stable. Companies that went all in on oil, they're down 15–20%. Some are down 30%. "That's not the point," George Parker started. "That's exactly the point, George. Dunne, we're more stable than our competitors because we diversified, because we planned for volatility." She clicked through slides. "Yes, we took a hit today, but we're positioned to recover faster, and when oil prices stabilize, which they will, we'll be stronger than we were before." Richard Chen spoke up. "What's your plan?" "Short term, we sit tight. Don't make emotional decisions. Let the market stabilize." She pulled up another slide. "Long term, we accelerate renewable investments. Markets like this create opportunities. Companies will be desperate for capital. We can acquire assets at discounted prices." "You want to invest more money while we're losing money?" George sounded incredulous. "I want to invest when assets are cheap. That's how my father built this company. Buy low, sell high." "Is build when others panic." She leaned toward the camera. "Gentlemen, I understand you're scared, but fear makes bad decisions. We planned for this. Trust the plan." The meeting lasted another hour. Arguments, pushback, eventually cautious agreement. When it ended, Zara sat alone in her office, exhausted. Her phone was full of messages, journalists wanting comments, investors asking questions, competitors probably smelling blood. She ignored all of them. Instead, she called her renewable energy team. "I need proposals for acquisitions, solar companies that are struggling but have good technology, wind farms that need capital. Send me everything by tomorrow morning." "You're buying during a crash?" "I'm buying because of the crash. Let's move." Over the next week, markets stayed volatile. Mitchell Energy's stock fluctuated wildly. The board had daily panic attacks. Zara worked 18-hour days, managing crises, reassuring investors, making strategic moves while everyone else was frozen with fear. On Friday, oil prices started to recover. Slowly, tentatively, Mitchell Energy's stock stabilized, then started climbing. By the following Monday, they'd recovered most of their losses. The renewable investments had cushioned the fall and accelerated the recovery. David walked into her office with actual printouts. "The board wants to apologize, George Parker specifically." "I don't need apologies. I need commitment to the strategy." "You have it." Richard Chen called. "Said you handled the crisis better than your father would have. You stayed calm when everyone else panicked." She felt something warm in her chest. Pride, maybe, or relief. "My father taught me that markets are emotional. People make money by staying rational when everyone else loses their minds." He'd be proud. After David left, Zara allowed herself one moment of satisfaction. She'd been tested. The market had crashed, the board had doubted her, and she'd proven she belonged in this chair. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. "Hello?" "Zara, it's Vivian." Her stomach tightened. "How did you get this number?" "I need to talk to you, please, just 5 minutes." "I have nothing to say to you." "I know, but I have things to say to you." Vivian's voice was different, smaller. "I'm in Houston. Can we meet? Somewhere public if you want. I need to apologize." Zara almost hung up, should have hung up, but something in Vivian's voice made her pause. "Why?" "Because I was wrong. About everything, and you deserve to hear that." Against her better judgment, Zara agreed to coffee. The next day, a cafe downtown, public and neutral. Vivian looked different in person. No designer clothes, no perfect makeup, just jeans and a sweater, hair in a ponytail, face scrubbed clean. She looked younger, tired, real. She stood when Zara arrived. "Thank you for coming." Zara sat down without ordering anything. "You have 5 minutes. I know what you think of me. Gold digger, homewrecker, shallow influencer who destroyed your marriage." Vivian's hands were wrapped around her coffee cup. "You're not wrong. I was all of those things." "Is this supposed to make me feel better?" "No, it's supposed to be honest." Vivian took a breath. "I met Trevor at an event. He was charming, successful, told me he was separated. I didn't ask questions because I didn't want to know the answers. I liked the life he offered, the restaurants, the trips, the attention. I liked feeling important. And now? Now I know what it costs. You tanked my contracts. I didn't tank anything. I made business decisions." "I know. That's what I'm saying. You made business decisions, and my entire career collapsed because it was built on nothing real. I was a pretty face selling products for companies that didn't care about me." She laughed bitterly. "Trevor left me 3 weeks after the board voted him out, said I was bad for his image. Can you believe that? I was bad for his image." Zara felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction. Pity, maybe. Or recognition. "He does that. Makes you feel important until you're not useful anymore. I'm sorry, for my part, in hurting you. I knew he was married. I convinced myself it didn't matter because I told myself you weren't right for him anyway." Vivian met her eyes. "That was cruel and wrong, and I'm sorry." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm trying to figure out who I am when I'm not performing for a camera, and that starts with owning what I did." She set down her cup. "I saw the WSJ article about you. You're doing incredible things, building something that matters, and I'm 29 years old with no skills except looking good in photos. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now." Zara studied her. This woman who'd been a villain in her story, who'd represented everything shallow and fake. Now she just looked lost. "What do you want from me, Vivian?" "Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. And that you were right. About everything." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zara surprised herself. "Do you have a degree?" Vivian blinked. "What? Did you go to college?" "I dropped out sophomore year, started modeling, then influencing. It seemed smarter than student loans." "Can you write, organize, manage projects?" I guess. I managed my own content calendar, worked with brands, negotiated some of my own contracts before I got an agent." Zara pulled out her phone, typed a note to herself. "I'm launching a sustainability initiative. consumer education about renewable energy, climate change, making environmental choices accessible. I need someone who understands social media, who can make complex topics relatable to regular people. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an interview. If you're interested. Zara stood up. But Vivian, if I hire you, it's not charity, it's not guilt. You'd be an employee. You'd work hard. You'd have to prove you belong there every single day. No special treatment because of our history. I don't want special treatment. I want a chance to do something real. Then send your resume to my assistant. We'll see. Zara picked up her bag. And Vivian? What happened between us doesn't go away just because you apologized. You hurt me. Trevor hurt me. I'm not going to forget that. I know. But maybe I can earn your respect. Eventually. Maybe. Zara left the cafe, stood on the sidewalk in Houston's sunshine. She'd just had coffee with the woman who'd helped destroy her marriage. And maybe, given her a second chance. Her father would have called that soft or strategic. Sometimes it was hard to tell the difference. She called David. How are we looking for the sustainability initiative? Good. We have the budget approved. Just need to staff it. I might have a candidate, someone unexpected. I'll send you her information. She started walking back to her office. And David? Set up a meeting with the board. I want to propose something big. How big? Mitchell Energy is changing its name. We're becoming Mitchell Energy and Sustainability. I want it official by end of quarter. Silence. Then, your father's name isn't going anywhere. We're just expanding what it means. She smiled. He'd understand. He always said a legacy is only valuable if it evolves. He'd be proud, Zara, truly. After she hung up, Zara stood in front of Mitchell Energy headquarters, 40 stories of glass and steel. Her father's dream, her responsibility, her future. 10 weeks ago, she'd been standing in a kitchen in Portland, holding divorce papers, feeling like her world was ending. Now she was here, building something new from something old, turning pain into purpose. The wind picked up, hot and thick with humidity. Texas wind, home wind. She'd spent 10 years running from this place, this life, this weight. Turned out that sometimes the thing you run from is exactly where you need to be. She walked inside, ready to build the future. 6 months later, Zara stood in front of 300 employees at the first annual Mitchell Energy and Sustainability Summit. The rebranding had been official for 3 months. New logo, new mission statement, new vision that honored her father's legacy while building something beyond oil fields and quarterly profits. She'd been nervous about this speech. Public speaking had never been her strength. She preferred boardrooms to ballrooms, data to declarations. But Sarah had insisted. The employees needed to hear from her, needed to understand the vision. 3 years ago, I was working at a coffee shop in Portland, Zara began. The audience laughed, uncertain if she was joking. I'm serious. I left this company, this life, because I wanted to know who I was without the Mitchell name. I wanted to build something myself. She clicked to the next slide. Photos of her father, young and ambitious, older and wise. The final photo showed them together. She was 8, gap-toothed, wearing a hard hat too big for her head at an oil field. My father built an empire. He drilled wells, negotiated contracts, created jobs for thousands of people. He was brilliant, strategic, and he understood something fundamental. Businesses that don't evolve die. She paused. Let that sink in. When I came back after his death, people thought I'd maintain what he built, keep it safe, preserve his legacy exactly as it was. She smiled. Instead, I've spent 6 months changing everything, investing in renewables, rebranding the company, making risky bets on new technology. Some people think I'm destroying his legacy. She pulled up the next slide. Financial projections, growth charts, sustainability metrics. But here's what actually happened. We're more profitable than we were a year ago. Our stock price is up 18%. We've created 200 new jobs in renewable energy. We've reduced our carbon footprint by 30%, and we're positioned to thrive no matter what happens to oil prices. Applause. Tentative at first, then stronger. My father taught me that legacy isn't about preservation. It's about evolution. He'd be proud we kept his name, but he'd be prouder that we expanded what it means. After the speech, people wanted to talk, shake her hand, take photos. She did it all with grace she'd learned as a child and rejected as a teenager. Turned out some skills were worth keeping. Marcus Kim, her renewable energy director, found her near the buffet. "Great speech, boss. You're getting good at this." "I'm getting better at pretending I'm good at this," he laughed. "Same thing in business. Fake it till you become it." He grabbed a plate. "By the way, the solar farm in Texas is ahead of schedule. We're looking at early completion, which means earlier ROI. That's excellent news. And the Oklahoma wind farm got approved for expansion. We could double capacity within 18 months. He paused. "Your dad started this, you know. 5 years ago he bought that land. Told me he was planning for a future he might not see. Said his daughter would need options." Her throat tightened. "He said that. He knew you'd come back eventually, and he wanted you to have the tools to build something new." Marcus smiled. Looks like he was right. After he walked away, Zara excused herself, found a quiet hallway, pressed her palms against cool wall tile, and breathed. Her father had been planning for this, for her, even when she'd been gone, even when she'd refused his calls, kept conversations brief, maintained her distance. He'd been building her future anyway. She pulled out her phone, looked at the last photo she had of him, taken at some charity event she hadn't attended. He was smiling, proud, alive. "I hope I'm making you proud," she whispered. Her phone buzzed, text from an unfamiliar number. "This is Trevor. I know you blocked my other numbers. I just wanted to say congratulations on the company rebrand. You're doing incredible things. I'm sorry I never saw who you really were." She stared at the message. 6 months ago it would have meant something. Vindication, acknowledgement, proof that she'd won. Now it just felt irrelevant. She deleted it without responding, blocked the number. Trevor was her past, a chapter that taught her what she didn't want. He deserved no space in her present. That evening, Zara had dinner with Richard Chen. They met at her favorite restaurant, not the fanciest in Houston, but the one with the best food. She'd learned that from her father, too, quality over flash. "You're becoming a natural leader," Richard said over wine. "The board is impressed. Even George Parker grudgingly admits you know what you're doing." "George hates that I was right about renewables. He hates that he was wrong. There's a difference." Richard smiled. "Your father picked his battles carefully. You pick yours with precision. It's effective. I learned from watching him and from watching his mistakes." "What mistakes?" "He worked too much. Missed my childhood because he was building an empire. My mother died and he buried himself in work instead of grief." She set down her glass. "I don't want to be that person. I want to build something meaningful and have a life. I'm both. That's wise and rare." They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Richard spoke quietly. "There's something you should know. Trevor's company was liquidated last week. He's filing for bankruptcy, personal and corporate." Zara felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sympathy. Just emptiness where he used to live in her thoughts. "I appreciate you telling me. Does it matter to you?" "No. He made his choices. I made mine. We're both living with the consequences." She looked at Richard. "Is that cold?" "It's healthy. You're not responsible for fixing him. You're responsible for building something that matters. You're doing that." After dinner, Zara drove to her father's house, her house now. She still thought of it as his. Maybe she always would. Mrs. Chen was in the kitchen, preparing tomorrow's meals. The house smelled like garlic and rosemary, like home. "How was the summit?" Mrs. Chen asked. "Good. Really good, actually." Zara kicked off her heels, sat at the kitchen island like she had as a child. "I gave a speech. People clapped. I didn't throw up from nerves. Your father would have loved watching you command that room. I wish he could have seen it. He saw enough, sweetheart. He saw you leave at 18 and build your own life. He saw you come back and take responsibility. He saw you become the person who could run this company better than he did." Mrs. Chen set a plate in front of her. Cookies, still warm. "Eat. You're too thin." "I eat plenty." "You work too much, just like your father." She smiled. "Which means I'll take care of you just like I took care of him. No arguments." Zara ate the cookie. Chocolate chip. Perfect. Later, in her father's office, she sat in his chair and opened her laptop. There was an email from Vivian. Subject line, 3-month update. She'd hired Vivian 3 months ago, Associate Director of Consumer Outreach. It had been a gamble. The board had questioned it. Sarah had been skeptical. Even Zara herself had wondered if it was smart or stupid. But Vivian had worked harder than anyone, had taken the job seriously, had transformed from influencer to educator, creating content that made sustainability accessible, relatable, shareable. The email contained metrics: engagement rates up 40%, social media followers growing daily, media inquiries tripling, partnership requests from environmental organizations. At the bottom, a personal note. Thank you for this opportunity. I know I didn't deserve it. I'm trying to earn it every day. I'm trying to be someone my daughter can be proud of. Zara blinked. Daughter? She scrolled up, found an earlier email she'd missed. Vivian announcing she was pregnant, due in 4 months, planning to work until delivery, then take maternity leave. The father wasn't mentioned, probably Trevor, maybe not. It didn't matter. Zara typed a response. Congratulations. Take whatever time you need. We'll have your position waiting. You've earned it. She hit send, closed her laptop. Then she walked to the window. Houston sprawled before her. Lights everywhere, millions of lives. Her father had helped shape this city. Now she would too. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. Ms. Mitchell, this is Governor Martinez's office. The governor would like to discuss potential partnerships between the state and Mitchell Energy and Sustainability, specifically regarding the new solar initiative. Zara smiled. I'd be happy to discuss that. Have your scheduler contact my assistant. After she hung up, she sat in her father's chair, thought about the girl who'd run away, the woman who'd come back, the leader she was becoming. The journey from simple coffee shop employee to CEO of a billion-dollar empire wasn't the revenge story people wanted. There'd been no dramatic confrontation, no public humiliation of Trevor, no bitter victory. Instead, there'd been work, growth, learning to carry weight she'd rejected, building something bigger than pain. Trevor had called her too simple. He'd been wrong about that, about everything. But his wrongness had freed her, had forced her to remember who she'd been before she'd tried to be uncomplicated, before she'd made herself smaller. She was Zara Mitchell, oil heiress, sustainability advocate, CEO, daughter of Texas, woman who'd walked away and found the courage to walk back. Simple was never the goal. Building something that lasted, that was worth the fight. 2 years later, Forbes ran a cover story. Zara Mitchell, the CEO who made sustainability profitable. The photo showed her at a wind farm, hair whipping in the breeze, hard hat under her arm. Behind her, turbines stretched toward the sky. Mitchell Energy and Sustainability was valued at $6 billion, renewable projects across 4 continents, carbon-neutral operations, a model for industry transformation. Zara kept the magazine on her desk, next to a photo of her father. Some legacies you inherit. Some you build. She'd done both, and she was just getting started.